Okay, everyone, please confirm whether the screen is coming. Okay. Okay, chalo. So, a very good morning to all of you. I hope you all are doing well. So, let us start today's topic. So, yesterday we have finished our basics topic, like basics of cost auditor, like who is a cost auditor, what are his duties, what is his role, responsibility, what is his qualification, what are his disqualification, and how the cost audit is being carried out, and some few questions also. I hope you all agree with me. Yes or no? Yes. So those topics we have done. So today we are going to start something very important. Like, see, say for example, it's a very simple thing you have to understand today is that, say for example, if you are a practicing CMA, if you are a practicing CMA, or you are a practicing CS, or you are a practicing CA. So either you are a practicing CMA, practicing CS, or practicing CA. In that case, what is happening? All of us have to maintain some professional ethics. We all have to maintain some professional ethics. Sir, what do you mean by professional ethics? Now try to understand. See, I hope you all will agree with me that if whenever we talk about our profession called CMA, CS, and CA, can I say that our signatures are most important than anybody else? Can I say that? Our signatures, our responsibilities are more important than anybody else. So, okay, now look at the depth of the situation. Can I say that central government is relying upon your signature to decide whether the company's cost of production is good or not, whether the company's cost of production is genuine or not? Am I correct or not? So you can really understand that let it be company secretary, let it be a chartered accountant, or let it be a cost management accountant, we all have to maintain some ethics in our profession. Are you getting the point? Ethics in our profession. So what has happened? ICSI, that is Institute of Company Secretaries of India, then ICAI, Institute of Cost Accountants of India, and ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, what they have brought is they all have brought one thing that is called Code of Ethics. What do we call it as? Code of Ethics. Ki bhaiya, if you are a practicing cost and management accountant, and if you are a non-practicing cost and management accountant and you are doing a job somewhere else, then in that case either you are in practice or you are not in practice. You all have to be ethically and professionally, you all have to display the ethical and professional behavior in the market. Now tell me one thing, you all will agree with me, you will all will agree with me 100%. Can I say that today if a CMA or a CS or a CA is there in the market, are we representing ourselves or we are representing our institutes? Are we representing ourselves or we are representing our institute? We are representing our institute. Are we the product of Institute of Cost Accountants of India or not? Are we today all the product of Institute of Cost Accountants of India? Yes. If we will show any unethical behavior or any unprofessional behavior in the market, whether at the end of the day fingers will be raised on the institute or not, fingers will definitely raise on an institute or not. Yes. So that's the reason institute ने क्या किया, जैसे Companies Act has made the rules for the what? Companies. FEMA has made the rule for the foreign currency. SEBI has made the rules for what? Listed company. Likewise, Institute of Cost Accountant of India also says that these are the various rules which you have to follow. Like if I have to give you some example, say for example, once you will get qualified and when you will come into the practice, you will open your practice office. Am I correct or not? You will open your practice office, yes or no? Now, once you will open your practice office, are you allowed to advertise in the newspaper that I have opened a practice office of cost accountant, please come and give me the work? Are we allowed to solicit the work from the public? Are we allowed to ask the work from the public? Answer is no. Now tell me, are we the professional cost accountants or not? Yes, we are the professional cost accountants. So we are not allowed to beg the work. We are not allowed to solicit the work. We are not allowed to demand the work. We are not allowed to request the work. People should come to me. They should give me the work. On the basis of that only, I will do the survival of my profession. Now you all might be, having one doubt in your mind, sir, if we will not advertise, if we will not tell to the public that we have a practice office, then how the people will come to know? How the people will come to know that my practice office is open? Am I correct or not? Whether you all have that doubt or not, how the people will come to know that in one particular street, in one particular corner, your office is located? Remember one thing, it's a word to mouth publicity. It's completely a word to mouth publicity. You take care of your one client, you take care of your one customer, your customer automatically will bring you the 10 customers. It's not like we are selling the dals, pulses, atta, and flour. We are not selling all these things. We are selling the professional services. And once you make somebody happy with the one professional service, don't you think that they will bring the another 10 clients to you? Are you getting the point or not? That is what the good thing about our profession. But even though these things are running in our profession, what the CA Institute, what the CMA Institute, and what the CS Institute has done, they have brought some rules and regulations. Sir, what do you mean by rules and regulations? They have brought some schedules. They have brought some rules in the schedules. As a CMA in practice, or as a CMA in non-practice, means CMA in job, you have to show your character to the outside world. What kind of character you have to show to the outside world? That we are going to understand in this chapter. I hope all of you are understood. All of you have understood the introduction of the chapter. Correct or not? So what are the professional ethics a practicing CMA and a non-practicing CMA has to consider, and what are his responsibilities towards our profession? That exactly we are going to understand in this particular chapter. I hope notes are there with all of you. Notes are there with all of you. Now let us start one by one. Let us read one by one each and every topic. Now see everyone, what is being told here. Code of ethics. As professionals in the field of cost and management accounting, the members of our institute are bound by the code of professional ethics. The code prescribes and binds the members to the highest level of care, due diligence, responsibility to their clients, employees, the public, and their fellow professionals. Are you getting the point? Just say, let me ask you a very simple thing. Say, for example, there is one company. There is one company where you were a cost auditor. You were a cost auditor of that company. Now, next year, they appointed me as a cost auditor. Now, tell me, did they replace you with me or not? Did they replace you with me or not? Now, am I the outgoing auditor or am I the incoming auditor? I need an answer, everyone. Everyone, you remember one thing, this chapter is completely connected to you. I'm the incoming auditor. Yes. So, as an incoming auditor, do I have any duty? Do I have any duty to first do the communication with the outgoing auditor to understand the reasons why he has been replaced? Now tell me one thing, whether the incoming cost auditor should communicate with the outgoing cost auditor to understand what are the reasons of removal. Are you getting the point? Yes. Now say for example, you were not paid your fees properly. You were demanding your fees, but you were not paid your audit fees properly. That's the reason they thrown you out of the job, or they thrown you out as an auditor. Now tell me, whether the same thing can happen with me also? Whether the same thing can happen with me also? Yes. So what is the ICMAI Institute says that in that case, as an incoming auditor, should I accept the audit? In that case, as an incoming auditor, should I accept the audit? Answer is no. Because what can be done with my colleague? What can be done with my another professional colleague? Whether the same thing can be done with me or not? What can be done with you? Whether the same thing can be done with me or not? So all these kinds of rules and regulations, we are going to understand in this chapter. So everyone crystal clear? As a practicing CMA or as a non-practicing CMA, what are the things which are going to be applicable to you? What are the things you have to keep it in mind? What kind of professional codes you have to use? What kind of professional behavior you have to display? All that things we are going to understand. And remember one thing, they are very, very serious. They are highly serious because there are penalties also. And we are not going to do any Companies Act. We are not going to do any act. We are going to do CMA Act here. Cost and Work Accountants Act, CWA Acts. Because you all might be aware of the fact that in the beginning, we all were called as a cost and work accountants. Am I correct or not? So these code of ethics have come from the CWA. CWA means Cost and Work Accountants Act. Are you getting the point? So from there, we are going to understand some very important things. Now, the objective of this code is to instill the following virtues among the members. Now, they want us to have some following virtues. Now, everyone, please tell me, uh, as a cost auditor, are you going to display a good behavior or not? As a cost auditor, are you going to display a good behavior? Yes or no? Yes, we have to display the good behavior. Now, how you are going to display the good behavior, in which manner you are going to display the good behavior, that we are going to understand. Now, see, these are known as basic principles governing a practicing CMA. It is also known as ethical requirements. It is also known as code of ethics. Are you getting the point? So whenever we become a practicing CMA or a non-practicing CMA, these are the some of the basic qualities which are expected from us. Sir, what are those basic qualities? Now everyone try to understand what are those basic qualities. Basic quality number one. Basic quality number one. That is called integrity. What is the first word? Integrity, everyone. What do you mean by integrity? Integrity means honesty. Integrity means honesty. Integrity means sincerity. And integrity means straightforward. Integrity means honesty, sincerity, and straightforward. Everyone, please tell me, either you are a practicing CMA or you are a non-practicing CMA. Do you have to follow your honesty? Yes. Do you have to be very much sincere relating to your duties and work? Yes. Do you have to be straightforward? Now tell me one thing. Yesterday we have done section number 143 subsection 12. Yesterday we have done section number 143 subsection 12. What is that section? Everyone need an answer. Quickly, quickly. Give me the answer. What is section number 143 subsection 12? Is section number 143 subsection 12 talks about what? Duty to report a fraud or not? Yes. Now when we come across any fraud, when we saw any fraud, did we keep our mouth shut? Did we keep our mouth shut or we reported it to central government? Yes, we reported it to central government. So are we the straightforward persons or not? Are we the straightforward persons or not? Yes. So that is the first quality which is expected from a practicing CMA and a non-practicing CMA. Ki whatever you do, either you are doing a job, or you are coming into the practice. What is expected from you, everyone? You are expected to be honest, sincere, and straightforward towards your work. Crystal clear, everyone? The first basic principle, crystal clear? Yes. The second basic principle, what is expected from us is known as objectivity. What is the second thing is expected from us? Objectivity. Now, what do you mean by objectivity, everyone? Objectivity means being impartial, being impartial, and being unbiased. Objectivity means being impartial and being unbiased. Now, tell me one thing. Should we be partial with our client or should we be partial with our employer? Should we be biased with our client and biased with our employer? Answer is no. Now tell me, people today respect you because of your non-independent character or because of your independent character? Why today's people respect us? Today's people respect us because of our independent character. We are always impartial. We are always unbiased. Do we accept any gifts and favors from our client? Should we accept any gifts and favors from our client? No. Because if today a small gift or a small favor I will accept from my client, tomorrow my client will expect me to do something wrong or not? Will he expect me to help him in something wrong things or not? Yes. So what is the second quality? What is the second quality every practicing CMA has to constitute? That is called objectivity. And these are not only for CMA, everyone. This is for CMA, CS, and CMA, CS, and CA. All of them. Right or not? So integrity means what? Honesty, sincerity, straightforwardness. Objectivity means what? Being impartial and being unbiased. What is the third quality expected from us? That is called competence and skills. That is called competence and skills. Everyone, please tell me, do you have 15 months of industrial training? Do you have 15 months of articleship? Yes. What is the reason that you all have the 15 months of articleship? What you are going to learn in that articleship? Can I say that articleship is going to show you the mirror what you are going to see after getting qualified? Whether the articleship is nothing but your post qualification scenario or not. Post qualification, you are going to go to so many places. Post qualification, you are going to do so many audits of the manufacturing units, production unit. Post qualification, you will do the job. How you have to maintain your character, what kind of training you should have to compete in your job, what kind of auditing skills you need, all that you are going to understand post qualification or pre qualification. All of that you are going to understand post qualification or pre qualification. You all are going to understand pre qualification so that you can maintain that character post qualification. Are you getting the point? Nara, what do you mean by dummy? Nara, what do you mean by dummy? You are talking about the dummy articles. You're talking about the dummy articles. That's what you are talking about. Remember, Nara, remember one thing. Dummy articles is the biggest sin you all will do if you will take the dummy articles. I'm telling you, dummy articles is not going to take you anywhere. Suppose if any CMA student or a CA student or a CS student takes a dummy articles, what will happen at the time when we go for an interview? Now, during the interview, when they will ask us a various set of, technical questions or, various set of expertise questions, at that point of time, if you are a dummy articles, will you be able to survive, everyone? Please tell me. Will you be able to survive that interview? No, you will not be able to survive. I am totally agreeing with you that there are very few CMAs in practice. I hope you all will also agree with me. There are very few CMAs in practice. That's the reason it becomes very difficult for us to, go for an articles, for us to look for an articles. Well, let me tell you one thing. Go for industrial articles. Go for the industrial training. You can, select one particular, small industry or small company. There you should apply for articles. No issues. That is also allowed. Are you getting the point? So make sure that try your level best to get the best use of the article. So competence and skills means what? Competence and skills means what? Undergoing various trainings, undergoing various trainings, or you can say that polishing skills, or you can say that always be updated, always be updated, and you can say that always be upgraded. Now tell me one thing, do you need all these four things in your profession to serve your client in the best manner? Do you all agree with me? You always have to be updated, you always have to be upgraded, you always have to have a good polishing skills. Keep on polishing. Now tell me all. I qualified in 2013. I qualified in 2013. In 2013, GST was there or GST was not there? In 2013, GST was there or not there? Not there. When the GST came, everyone? 2017. GST came in 2017, 1st July. Now tell me, when I qualified at that point of time, there was a VAT, there was an excise, there was a what do you say, sales tax. Are you getting the point? There used to be a what do you say, service tax. Now, in 2017, when the GST came, do I have to remove all those things away from my head and do I have to insert the new GST laws in my heads or not? Yes. Are you getting the point or not? So remember one thing, you always have to keep on updated. Don't be under the impression that once you will qualify as a CMA, your studies are over and your qualification is over. No, your actual journey, your actual learning as well as your earning starts then only. The more and more you will learn, the more and more you will become knowledgeable. The more and more you will become knowledgeable, the more and more you can serve your clients in the best efficient and effective manner. I hope all of you will agree with me. So what are the three basic principles which are expected from a practicing and a non-practicing CMA? Integrity is expected, objectivity is expected, competence and skills is expected. Now, point number 4, whether confidentiality is also expected from you. Whether a practicing CMA or a non-practicing CMA in a job always have to maintain the code of confidentiality. Everyone, please tell me. Code of confidentiality is optional or mandatory? Mandatory. Now tell me one thing. How many days may you have to do the audit? Everyone. How many days may you have to complete your audit? In 180 days. So can I say that during that 180 days, when you are spending that much of time at your client's place, at that point of time, will you come across so many secretive informations? Yes. Will you come across so many sensitive informations? Yes. Will you come across so many confidential information? Yes. Now, as a doctor, whether the doctor discloses the problems of its patients to another patient? No. Whether a doctor keeps the secret of its patient or not? Yes. Doctor keeps the secret of their patients. Whether the advocate also keeps the secret of its client or not? Yes. Likewise, same way, a practicing CMA or a non-practicing CMA or a non-practicing CMA are expected to maintain what? They all are expected to maintain what? Confidentiality. They all are expected to maintain what? Confidentiality means they are under no obligation. They are under no obligation to disclose info of their client to anybody. When I'm using the word called anybody, I meant that. Anybody means what? Whether you can give this information to any other practicing CMA? No. Whether you can give this information to any other party? No. You are not allowed to give this information to anybody. But there are some exceptions, everyone. Under two circumstances, you can disclose this information. Under two circumstances, you can disclose this information. How many circumstances, everyone? Under two circumstances, you can disclose this information. First one, with the prior permission of the client. Whose permission is required? With the whose permission? With the prior permission of the client. With the prior permission of the client, you can disclose this information. Second thing, if there is a requirement of law. If there is a requirement of law. So if the law requirement is there, or if you have taken the prior permission of your client, in these situations, you are allowed to disclose this information. Otherwise, you always have to keep your mouth shut. You always have to keep your mouth shut. Remember one thing, always keep your ears and eyes open while doing the audit. Always keep your ears and eyes open while doing the audit, but you should always keep your mouth shut. Crystal clear, everyone? So this is what do you mean by the fourth quality called what? Confidentiality. To tell me, everyone, what are the four qualities we already know? What are the four qualities we already know? Integrity, objectivity, and skills and competence, and confidentiality. Are you getting the point? And the fifth quality which is expected from you is known as which behavior? Which behavior? Professional behavior. What is the fifth quality expected from you? Which behavior, everyone? Professional behavior. Now, what do you mean by professional behavior? Remember one thing, you are expected to always display your professional behavior. Now, say for example, you have taken a loan from a bank as a CMA. Obviously, even though we are a CMA, we can also take the loans from the bank. You have taken a loan from the bank. Now, are you expected to repay the loan without any default? Are you expected as a professional? Are you expected or not? Yes. Now, if this news will go in the market, कि Rohit Grover sir has taken a loan and he is not able to repay the loan, whether it is going to show my unprofessional type of behavior in the market or not? Just because he's a practicing CMA or a practicing CS, he is taking the loan from the people and not able to return it. Will that bring my reputation down in the market? Yes or no? Will that bring my reputation down in the market? Yes or no? Yes. So remember one thing, you are always required to display, your professionalism. You're always required to display your professionalism. Acha, say for example, if right now you all are able to see me, right now. Am I correct or not? Now, suppose if I come and take your class with the green color here, with a tattoo here. Am I correct or not? Here piercing, here piercing, here piercing, here piercing, and here also piercing. Now, tell me one thing. At that point of time, will I be looking professional while taking the class? Will I be looking professional while taking the class? I will not be looking professional. So remember one thing, there are certain set of responsibilities come on you when you become a professional. At that point of time, you really have to show your professional behavior. I hope you all are understanding whatever I'm saying. Yes or no? You all are understanding whatever I'm saying? Yes. So you all are expected to display your professionalism and ethical behavior in the market. So this is what do you mean by your 5 basic principles governing your professionalism. These are the 5. So what are the 5? Integrity, objectivity, skills and competence. You can say competence and skills, and then confidentiality, and then professional behavior. So can I say that it is ICCOP, certificate of practice? I hold COP. You can remember it like this. I hold CCOP. I hold CCOP. So integrity, the competence, the confidentiality, the objectivity, and the professional behavior. Everyone crystal clear? Yes or no? Yes or no? So these are all known as your professionalism behaviors which are expected from you. Clear? Chalo, let us understand. The objective of this code is to instill the following virtues among the members. Integrity, be straightforward and honest. Competence, not to perform any service which is not competent. He either lacks skills, diligence, or knowledge to carry out. Confidentiality, not to disclose the acquired information during the course of engagement. Objectivity, be fair and should not allow the prejudice or biasness. That's what I told you, impartial and unbiased. And professional behavior, act in a manner consistent with the good reputation of the profession. So everyone, is there any doubt in A, B, C, D and E? Any doubt or no doubt? Everyone, any doubt or no doubt? No doubt, right or not? So first 2-3 chapters we are going to build the foundation for our this subject, so that in the remaining chapters we can understand it, right? Okay. Now, what is the next thing expected from us? Now, I will make you write one schedule. What is the schedule they are saying? They are saying that the Institute of Cost Accountants of India has been given the powers under the first schedule and second schedule of which act? The Cost and Work Accountants Act 1959. Now, who is regulating our CMA profession, everyone? The Cost and Work Accountants Act 1959, which we call it as CWA Act. In the CWA Act, how many schedules are there, everyone? How many schedules are there, everyone? Two schedules are there. How many schedules are there? Two schedules are there. Now, why these two schedules are there? These two schedules are there to regulate the profession and to initiate an inquiry into the cases where it is of the opinion that member is guilty of professional misconduct or other misconduct. So, do you think that after getting qualified as a CMA, you are a free bird? Do you think that after getting qualified as a CMA, you are a free bird? Answer is no. CWA Act is always watching you. There are so many disciplinary bodies which are made under the CWA Act. They're watching you. If you are in practice or if you are in job, if somebody will make any complaint against you to the CMA Institute, if this particular professional is not behaving professionally, this particular professional is not doing the employment professionally, he is not dishonest person, or he is not maintaining any kind of professional quality during the job or during the profession, then in that case, whether the CMA Institute has every right to initiate the proceeding against you, whether they have any right to institute the case against you. Yes, they can take you forward, they may cancel your membership, they may cancel your COP, and you will be all alone at your home. Did you all understand the point or not? So what we are going to now are very professional things, and what we are going to now are very strict rules which we are going to understand. You dare not to follow these strict rules, what will happen? You dare not to follow these strict rules, what will happen? You will be guilty of professional misconduct, you will be guilty of other misconduct, and you will be thrown out of the profession for a limited period of time, or sometimes permanently also. Looking at the intensity of the situation, the case will be registered against you and inquiry will take place, and like in the court, whether the judge passed the judgment or not, we have so many courts, we have so many tribunals, we have so many disciplinary boards also in the CMA Institute. Are you getting the point? Now, all these things have been introduced in our profession for what? These have been introduced in our profession. First one, to regulate the profession. And second one is what? To inquire where member is guilty. Did you all understand the point? Yes or no? Did you all understand the point? So these are the major two objectives. These are the major two objectives of bringing this profession into the picture. These are the major two objectives. First one is to regulate the profession. Second one is to inquire whether the member is guilty. So how many schedules are there, everyone? How many schedules are there, everyone? There are total two schedules. How many objectives these schedules are having? Two objectives. What is objective number one? To regulate the profession. Objective number two, to inquire and punish those members who are guilty of professional misconduct or other misconduct. Clear, everyone? Yes or no? Clear, everyone? Yes. Now let us understand. Let us understand one thing. Let us understand one thing first. Now, part one, part two, part three. Part one, part two, part three. Now, let me just give you one broader idea first about that. After that only we'll understand. Okay. Now let us understand. Sir, what are these schedules? Up suno. There are how many schedules, everyone? Help me. How many schedules are there? Two schedules are there. Two schedules are there. Now, what do you mean by two schedules? Schedule 1, schedule 2. Now, let me tell you one thing. The schedule 1 is strict. Schedule 2 is stricter, more stricter. What do you mean by that? Where you should not come for your guilty under the schedule 1 or schedule 2. If you are coming under the schedule 1, if you are guilty and coming under the schedule 1, it is very strict. I am not saying that there are no punishments in that, but you should pray to the God that you should not come fall under the schedule 2, because schedule 2 is more strict as compared to schedule 1. Schedule 2 is more strict as compared to the schedule 1. Did you get the point? Now, in these two schedules, what is the further classification? In these two schedules, in the schedule number 1, there are 4 parts. How many parts are there in the schedule 1, everyone? How many parts are there in the schedule 1, everyone? 4 parts are there. And in the schedule 2, there are 3 parts. In the schedule 2, there are 3 parts. So this is known as part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, and again part 1, part 2, part 3. Clear, everyone? Now, what is part 1, everyone? Part 1 talks about professional misconduct. Part 1 talks about which conduct? Professional misconduct. What do you mean by professional misconduct, everyone? Professional misconduct means you are doing your job or you are doing your practice while during the profession, while doing the practice, you are doing something wrong. While doing the practice, you are doing something unethical. While doing the practice, you are doing something civil wrong or criminally wrong. That is called professional misconduct. Are you getting the point? Now, these professional misconduct, for whom? For the members in practice. What is MIP? MIP, everyone? What is MIP, everyone? Members in practice. So I'm going to call practicing CMA as members in practice. So part 1 of schedule 1 talks about the professional misconduct for members in practice. Part 2 talks about professional misconduct. Part 2 talks about also what? Professional misconduct. Now, everyone, please tell me, part 2 talks about professional misconduct for members in practice or members in service? Members in practice or members in service? Members in service. Professional misconduct for members in service. It means in the part 1, everyone, please tell me, in the part 1, whose professional misconduct we are going to learn? In the part 1, whose professional misconduct we are going to learn? We are going to learn about the practicing CMAs and members in practice. In the part 2, whose professional misconduct we are going to learn? In the part 2, whose professional misconduct we are going to learn? We are going to learn about members in service. In the part 3 also talks about the professional misconduct. Part 3 also talks to the professional misconduct, but these professional misconduct are applicable to both. These are those kind of professional misconduct which are applicable to practicing CMA or both. Both. Either you are in practice, sir, MIS example means those who are doing the job, those CMAs who are in the employment, they are known as members in service. Here, members in service does not mean practicing CMA. Here, member in service means non-practicing CMA. I hope you understood, Sai Teja. Yes or no? So, members in practice, members in service, and part 3 talks about what? either of them or both of them. Both of them. It means whatever we are going to learn in part 3, that is applicable to both of them. Either you are a member in practice or a member in service. Now, what is part 4? Part 4 talks about other misconduct. Part 4 talks about other misconduct. Can anybody tell me what is the difference between professional misconduct and other misconduct? See, professional misconduct means when you are doing a practice or when you are doing a job and you are doing something wrong, doing something unethical, doing something unprofessional. That is called professional misconduct. Other misconduct is not connected with your professional misconduct. Other misconduct is not connected with your professional misconduct. It is connected with your other than profession. Now tell me one thing, sir, do we have to maintain professionalism, integrity, objectivity of the practice and of the job also? Answer is yes, everyone. Answer is yes, everyone. People will judge you. Let me tell you one very simple fact. The moment you become a CMA and a CS and a CWA, can I say that intangibly it is written on your forehead that you are a professional? Whether people will start respecting you just because you are a professional? Those relatives who are not even knowing your name, whether they will start coming to know your name once you will become a professional? Am I correct or not? So intangibly it is written here that you are a professional. So remember one thing, during the job, during the practice, you have to maintain so many ethical behaviors, but off the job and off the practice also, you have to be professionally and ethically behavior. Are you getting the point or not? Let me give you one example of other misconduct. Say for example, you have opened one account in HDFC bank account. You have opened one account in HDFC bank account. HDFC bank account says that you have to minimum maintain 10,000 rupees of balance. You have opened one account in HDFC bank and you have to maintain a 10,000 rupees of balance. Now tell me, if you are not able to maintain 10,000 rupees of balance, now tell me, is it in favor of your character or against your character? Is it in favor of our profession or against our profession? Against. Now, as a cost and management accountant, if you are not able to maintain 10,000 rupees of balance also, and you are getting the legal notice from the bank, please maintain, or your bank balance goes into the negative. Now tell me, is it a professional misconduct? Is it connected with my profession? Is it connected with my job? No. Is it professional or other misconduct? Is it professional or other misconduct? It is other misconduct. Are you getting the point? So those kind. Now, say for example, I will give you a very simple example. I went to a bank. And I pressurized the bank manager. I am your concurrent auditor. You are the concurrent auditor of the bank. You are pressurizing the manager. I am your concurrent auditor. Please give me the loan of 1 crore rupees. Otherwise, I will give a negative report. Please give me a loan of 1 crore rupees. Otherwise, I will give a negative report. Now, tell me one thing. Are we taking the misuse of our position? Are we misusing our position right now? Now tell me, is it something are we bringing disrespect to the ICMAI or not? Are we bringing disrespect to our institute or not? Whether our institute teaches us to take the undue advantage of our position? Whether the institute teaches us that? No, institute does not teach us that. So all these are known as which conduct, everyone? Other misconduct. This one is also applicable to the both. This one is also applicable to whom? Both. Did you all understand? This one is also applicable to the both. Now, next part. Now, schedule 2. Now, which one is more strict schedule? Schedule 1 or schedule 2? Which one is more strict? Schedule 2. In the schedule 2 also, part 1 talks about what? Professional misconduct. Professional misconduct. Professional misconduct for whom? Members in practice. Professional misconduct for whom? Members in practice. Now, part 2 also talks about what? Professional misconduct. Professional misconduct. Now, what do you expect? Remember one thing, in the part 2, there is no special professional misconduct for the members in service. Now, here it is applicable to both. Here it is applicable to whom? Both. Here it is applicable to both. Next one, part 3. Part 3 again talks about which conducts, everyone? Other misconducts. Other misconducts. Here also it is applicable to whom? Both. Now, first of all, you all have to understand this chart. Is my voice coming properly? Is my screen coming properly? Please let me know. Voice and screen, everything is perfect? Yes or no? I think somebody sent me a message in between. Sir, voice is breaking. Now everything is clear now. Voice and all, everything is clear. Okay. Now, so everyone, please tell me whether this chart went inside your head or not. First of all, though, you have to remember this chart. On the basis of this chart, our next discussion is going to take place. So everyone, please remember, close your eyes. Close your eyes along with me. Close your eyes along with me. Remember the chart. Sir, in the chart, on the left side, schedule 1 and on the right side, schedule 2. Am I correct? On the left side, schedule 1. On the right side, schedule 2. On the left side, when the schedule 1 is there, how many parts are there? Sir, 4 parts are there. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. Now, under the Part 1, everyone, it is a professional misconduct for the members in practice. Under the Part 2, professional misconduct for members in service, those who are in job. Part 3, professional misconduct for both members in practice and members in service. Part 4, other misconduct for the members in other misconduct for both. Now schedule 2. 3 parts are there. Part 1. Professional misconduct for the members in practice. Part 2. Professional misconduct for both of them. And part 3. Other misconduct for both of them. Everyone crystal clear or not? Whether this chart went inside your head? Whether this chart went inside your head? Yes. So that brings an end to our chart. Now, which part we are going to start, everyone? Which part we are going to start, everyone? We are going to start part 1 of schedule 1. We are going to start part 1 of schedule 1. What is part 1 of schedule 1? What is part 1 of schedule 1? Professional misconducts in relation to members in practice. Now, shall we start, everyone? Yes or no? Yes. So you can see that schedule 1 part 1. Are you able to see the schedule 1 part 1? Yes, schedule 1 part 1. What is schedule 1 part 1? Professional misconduct for a practicing cost accountants. Professional misconduct for the cost accountants in practice. So can I call it as MIP? Can I call it as MIP? Yes, members in practice. Now, these are those things which we are allowed or not allowed. We are going to do everything negative. These are those things which are allowed or not allowed. Which are not allowed. Are you getting the point? So we are going to learn now those things which are not allowed to be done by us. Point number 1, everyone. Allow any person to practice in his name other than CMA partner. Now, what do you mean by this point, everyone? What do you mean by this point, everyone? Ready? Yes or no? Ready? Okay. Now, everyone, please understand. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Now, which part we have started, everyone? Which part we have started? Schedule 1 we have started. We have started what? Schedule 1. Under the Schedule 1, which part we have started? Part 1 we have started. Part 1 is all about what? Professional misconduct for members in practice. Means practicing CMAs. Clear? Yes. Now, everyone, please understand this. What is the clause number 1 talking about? Now, clause number 1 talking about is allowing any other person to practice in your name or firm name other than your practicing partner. Other than your practicing partner. Now, see, everyone, please understand the example. Example number 1. Now, suppose A and B co, AB and co, AB and co is a practicing CA firm, practicing CMA firm. In that, A is also practicing CMA and B is also practicing CMA. In this firm, there is one employee. In this firm, there is one employee who is also a CMA. Now, tell me one thing. A is out of town. B is also out of town. Can the A and B allow this CMA, who is their employee, to do the practice in their name? Tell me. Shall we allow this person to practice in our name? Allow or should not allow? Not allowed. Allowed or not allowed? Not allowed. Acha, will your answer change? Will your answer change if this employee is a practicing CMA? He is also a practicing CMA, but he is my employee. He is a practicing CMA. He is my employee. No, here also not allowed. Here also not allowed. Tell me one thing. Is he a partner of your firm? Now tell me one thing. Appointment letter came in the name of your firm or not? Appointment letter came in the name of your firm or not? Yes. In your firm, how many partners are there? Two partners are there. A and B. A and B are present in India or not present in India? Not present in India. Are you getting the point or not? Remember one thing, there is one practicing CMA who is having some other firm. He is a practicing CMA in another firm, but he is an employee in my firm. He is also working as an employee in my firm, and in my firm, he is an employee, not my partner. Will I allow this employee to practice in the name of my firm? Here also not allowed, and here also not allowed. If you will allow any purpose. Now tell me everyone, read the point number 1. Allowing any other person to practice in your name and your firm name other than your practicing partner. Can you allow your practicing partner to practice in your name? Can you allow your practicing partner to practice in your name? Yes, your practicing partner can practice in your name. Suppose A is not available in Hyderabad. Whether B can practice in the name of the firm? Yes. If the B is not available in Hyderabad, whether A can practice in the firm name? Yes. Because they both are the part of the same firm or not? They both are the part of same firm or not? But employee is a partner or employee is an employee? Employee is an employee. He is not a partner. Can we allow the employee to practice in my name? No, we will not allow the employee to practice in my name. Even though that employee is a CMA, no. Even though that employee is a practicing CMA holding a certificate of practice, no. Did you all understand the point or not? Did you all understand the point or not? Yes. Shrikant, please unmute yourself and tell me what is your doubt. I'm unable to understand this Telugu what you have written. Shrikant, should I unmute you? Gangadhar Shrikant. Gangadhar Shrikant. Okay. Yeah, please unmute yourself, Shrikant. I have unlocked you. You can unmute now. Shrikant, please raise your doubt. Shrikant, you can unmute yourself. So what if the CA and a CMA are both partners? Then also we can allow. See, until and now there is no prohibition, everyone. There is no prohibition. There is no prohibition in multidisciplinary form. Did you all understand? There is no prohibition in the multidisciplinary form. A CA and a CMA both can be a partner. A CA and a CMA both can be a partner. But on the audit report, who will sign if it is a cost audit? Sai Teja. If it's a cost audit, who will sign? Only CMA partner will sign, because who can do the cost audit? Only CMAs can do the cost audit. Did you all understand the point or not? Did you all understand the point or not? Yes. So other than my practicing part, acha, tell me one thing. Acha, one more question. One more question. A, B, C and Co. This is a practicing CMA's form. This is a practicing CMA's form. A is a practicing CMA. B is also a practicing CMA. Now C is a non-practicing CMA. Can you have a partnership with the non-practicing CMA? Yes, there is no problem. You can have a partnership with the non-practicing CMA. Now, can A practice? Can A practice? Yes. Can B practice? Can B practice? Yes. But can C practice? Answer is no. Because other than you, who can only practice, everyone? Other than you, your practicing partner can only practice in the name of the firm. Which partner can practice? Practicing partner can practice. Here, even though C is also my partner, but C is in practice or not in practice? C is in practice or not in practice? He is not at all in practice. So should I allow him? Should I allow him or should not allow him? Should not allow him. Did you get the point? So what is the first professional misconduct? Did you all understand? Did you all understand the first professional misconduct? Yes. Do not allow anybody to practice in your name or in your firm name other than you. Who can practice? Other than you, who can practice? Your practicing partner can practice. Your practicing partner can practice. Other partner who is in practice. Clear or not? Everyone, please write CC if you all understood the clause number 1. You know, like that, we have more than 30 clause. How many clauses we have to do? 34 clauses we have to do. Are you getting the point? 35 clauses we have to do. So like that, I'm going to explain you each and every clause. So I hope everything is crystal clear. I hope everything is crystal clear. Yes or no? Yes. Chalo. Gangadhar Shrikant, do you still have a doubt? Gangadhar Shrikant, do you still have a doubt? Shrikant, please reply. Do you still have a doubt? No. Okay. Cleared? Chalo. So shall we read the second one? Shall we read the second one? Yes. So what is the second clause? Everyone, read the second clause. Pay. What is the second clause? Second clause is saying pay any share, commission or brokerage directly or indirectly in the fees or profits of his professional work to any person other than his what? Partners. To any person other than his what? Partners. Now, let me take you to the journey again. Let me take you to the journey again. Now tell me, everyone, which clause we are doing? We are now doing clause number 2. If you pay any of your fees, any of your commission, any of your brokerage any of your profits to any person other than your partner, retired partner, deceased partner, another CMA member, or other professional. Now, everyone, please understand. Now, tell me one thing. Are you running your practicing firm? Yes. We are talking about the members in service or members in practice? We are talking about the members in practice. So, you are running your practicing firm. Listen, you are running your practicing firm, right? Now, in the practicing firm, you got 40 lakhs of profit. How much is the profit for the year? Suppose for the 2021 financial year, you got the 40 lakhs of profit. Now, this 40 lakhs of profit, can I share this profit with my partner? Can I share this profit with my partner? Yes. Can I share this profit with my retired partner? Yes. If deed provides. If in the partnership deed, it is written that ki after the retirement also some share will come, then I can share it with my retired partner. Can I share it with the legal representative of my dead partner? Can I share it with the legal representative of my dead partner? One of my partner dead. If deed provides, if partnership deed provides. So did you all understand the first three questions? Can I share it with my partner? Yes. Can I share it with my retired partner? Yes. Can I share it with my legal representative of dead partner? Yes. In the point number 2 and point number 3 may only if what provides? Only if what provides, everyone? Deed provides. Now, can I share it with another CMA? Another member of ICAI, Institute of Cost Accountants of India? Yes. Yes. Allowed. Now remember one thing. It is a brotherhood. Everyone, please understand. It is a brotherhood. Brotherhood means what? One CMA, if taking the work from the another CMA, do you have to share the work with him or not? Do you have to share the profit with you or not? Say for example, in my firm, one cost audit came. I am very much occupied. So I gave my cost audit to Harika. Harika, I gave you my cost audit. You are a partner somewhere else. I gave my cost audit to Harika. Now tell me one thing, Harika, when I gave the cost audit to you, did you do the hard work or not? Did you do the hard work or not? Tell me, Harika. Yes. So do I have to share my fees with you? Whatever the fees, the client will pay the fees to me only. But did I do the work or you did the work? You did the work. So I'll share my fees with you. So another CMA member allowed or not? Yes, it is also allowed. So here also it is yes allowed. Here also it is yes allowed. Here also it is yes allowed. Now, can I share the fees with my CA, CS or other professionals also? Answer is yes. CA, CS and other professional also? Answer is yes. Are you getting the point? If I have a CA as a partner or a CS as a partner, or I have taken the some services of the other professional, LLB and all, whether I can share the fees with them also? Yes. But other than these five people, other than above five, allowed or not allowed? Not allowed. Other than above five, allowed or not allowed? Not allowed. Give me 1 second. Okay, everyone, please tell me. Other than these five people, allowed or not allowed? Other than these five people, allowed or not allowed? Completely and completely not allowed. So, as a member in practice, as a CMA in practice, if you are sharing your fees, profit, brokerage, commission with these people, it is allowed. But if you are sharing your fees, commission, brokerage, profit with other than these 5 people, allowed or not allowed? Not allowed. Then you will be guilty of professional misconduct. You will be guilty of professional misconduct under clause number 1 or clause number 2. You will be guilty of professional misconduct under clause number 1 or clause number 2. Clause number 2. Part 1 or part 2? Part 1. Clause number 2, part 1. Schedule number 1. Like that you have to remember. What was our clause number 1? If we allow any other person to practice in my name. That was clause number 1. What is clause number 2? If you are sharing. Acha. What is clause number 3, everyone? Anybody? What is clause number 3? Clause number 3 is, everyone please understand, clause number 3 is what? What is clause number 3? अब इसको ध्यान से सुनना. Clause number 3. Now tell me, what was clause number 2? Sharing or accepting? What was clause number 2? Sharing or accepting? Sharing. Clause number 3 is accepting. Clause number 3 is accepting. Can I accept it from my partner? Can I accept it from my partner? Yes. Can I accept it from my retired partner? Yes. Can I accept it from the legal representative of my deceased partner? Yes. Can I accept it from the another CMA member? Yes. Can I accept it from the other professionals? Yes. But should I take it from anybody else? Should I take it from anybody else? Anybody else? Should I or should not? No, not allowed. If I'm accepting from anybody else, am I allowed or guilty? I am guilty. In that case, I am guilty. Clear or not? So everyone, please tell me how many clauses we are done with? 3 clauses we are done with. What is the clause number 1? Allowing someone to practice. What is the clause number 2? Sharing. What is the clause number 3? Accepting. So allowing someone to practice, sharing, accepting. Sir, in clause 2, if mentioned in deed to share the profit after the retirement of the employee, then after the retirement of the employee? No. To the employee. Employee is never a partner. Na? We never share the things with the employee. Sai Teja, I hope you know some concepts of Partnership Act. Partnership Act का मतलब होता है partners, not the employee. Did you get the point? Sai Teja? Yes. Okay. So everyone, up to clause number 3, any doubt or no doubt? Clause number 3, any doubt or no doubt? Okay. What is clause number 4, everyone? What is clause number 4? अब इसको ध्यान से सुनना. What is clause number 4? Clause number 4 says that if a practicing CMA enters into practice with, if a practicing CMA enters into practice with or enters into partnership with, tell me one thing, as a practicing CMA, are you allowed to enter into a partnership with the another practicing CMA? Yes. Non-practicing CMA? Yes. Are you allowed to enter a partnership with the CA? Yes. Are you allowed to enter a partnership with the CS? Yes. Are you allowed to enter into a partnership with the LLB? Yes. Are you allowed to enter into a partnership with the actuarial scientist? Are you allowed to enter into a partnership with the actuarial scientist? Yes. Are you allowed to enter into a partnership with the Bachelor of Engineering? Yes. Are you allowed to enter into a partnership with the Bachelor of Technology? Yes. With these professionals, it is allowed. Sir, why it is allowed? Because these professionals are from the other professional body. Let me ask you one thing. Whether these are from the ICI? Yes. He's from the ICI, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Yes. He's from the ICSI. Yes. He's from the Bar Council of India. LLBs are from the Bar Council of India. Yes. Actuarial Science, Indian Institute of Actuarial Sciences. Bachelor of Engineering and Indian Institute of Technology, or you can say that Indian Institute of Engineers. So these are those kind of institutes. These are those kind of institutes which are approved by the Institute of Cost Accountants of India. You can enter a partnership with them. But let me tell you one thing. Can you enter a partnership with foreign professionals? Can you enter a partnership with foreign professionals like ACCA, like CIMA, like CPA? Are you allowed or not allowed? In these cases, not allowed. In these cases, you are not allowed. You are not allowed to enter into a partnership with foreign professionals. You're not allowed to enter into a partnership with which professionals? Foreign professionals. In India, you are allowed to enter a partnership with the CA, CS, LLB, actuarial scientist, BE and BTech. Did you all understand the point which I'm saying? Did you all understand the point which I'm saying? Yes or no? Perfectly understood? Right, CC, if you all understood, everyone? Right, CC, if you all understood? Yes. So, in case you are entering a partnership with the CPA or ACCA or CAMA, are you not guilty or you are guilty? Are you not guilty or you are guilty? You are guilty. So, how many clauses we are done with, everyone? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 clauses we are done with. So, tell me, clause 1, part 1, schedule 1 talks about what? Write one keyword. Clause 1, part 1, schedule 1 talks about what? If you allow somebody to practice in your name other than your practicing partner. Clause 2, part 1. So can I write? Okay, let us write it like this. Right? Let us write it like this. Is it 111? Yes. Is it 211? Yes. Is it 311? Yes. And this is 411? Yes. Did you get the point or not? 411? Yes. So everyone, 411 is what? Acha, chalo. First one, allowing, sharing, accepting, partnership form. Allowing, sharing, accepting, partnership. Allowing, sharing, accepting, partnership. Allowing, sharing, accepting, partner. Are you getting the point or not? So if you allow, if you share, if you accept, and if you enter into a partnership. Everyone crystal clear? Yes or no? Completely crystal clear? Yes. Okay. Now let us understand the fifth clause. Let us understand the fifth clause. Now what is the fifth clause? Fifth clause is this, everyone. What is the fifth clause, everyone? Secures professional business. Secures professional business from any person other than his partner or employees or from any source which is not open to the cost accountants. Now, everyone, please understand what they are saying. Clause 5. So, clause 5 means what? 511. Clause 5 means what? 511. What is 5? Clause number. What is 1? Part number. What is 1? Schedule number. Clear? Now, tell me, everyone, as a practicing CMA, can I secure professional work as a practicing CMA? Can I secure professional? Can I accept the professional work from my partner? Can I take the work from my partner? Yes. Can I take the work from my employee? Yes. Can I secure the professional work from the employee? Yes. Can I secure the professional work from other professionals? From other professionals? Yes. But can I secure the work from a doctor? No. Can I secure a professional work from a, say for example, from any other person? No. So remember one thing, you can secure the work from your partner. You can tell your partner, "Are yaar, if you have some work, please give it to me." So he will give it. You can accept it. You can secure the work from your employee because he's your employee, he's under your employment. So yes, you can accept it. You can secure the work from the other professional. What are the other professional? Can we secure it from CA, CS, and LLB, actuarial scientist, BE, BTech? Yes, we can secure it from them. But other than these people, am I allowed to secure any other work? Other than these people, am I allowed to secure the work? Answer is no. So this is what your clause number 5. So everyone, please tell me what are the 4 clauses? Clause number 1, allowing to practice in my name other than my practicing partner. Clause number 2, sharing your profit, brokerage, commission, fees to anybody else. Clause number 3, accepting the brokerage fees from anybody else. Clause number 4, what is clause number 4? Entering into a partnership with any person other than these 6 people. And clause number 5 is what? 5 is securing the work from your employee, allowed. Securing the work from your partner, allowed. From securing the work from the other professional, allowed. But any other person other than these 3 allowed or not allowed? Not allowed. So allowing, sharing, accepting, partnership, securing. Are you able to remember these 5 words or not? Are you able to remember these 5 words or not? Yes. So allowing, sharing, accepting, partnership, and yes, ASAP. Arey wah. ASAPS. ASAPS. Very nice. Very nice. Chalo. Clause number 7. Clause number 6 will do. What is clause number 6? तो क्लॉज नंबर 6 everyone. तो क्लॉज नंबर 6 मतलब क्या हो गया? 611. Yes. So what is clause number 6? Now clause number 6 is that solicit the client, solicit the professional work by a circular, advertisement, personal communication, interview, or by any other means. However, soliciting work from another cost accountant in practice and through bidding in the tender of professional does not amount to professional misconduct. Does not amount to professional misconduct. Are you getting the point? Now, let me tell you one thing. What they are trying to tell you that now we are doing the clause number. We are doing the clause number 6. Now see. First of all, everyone, please tell me what do you understand by the term called solicitation? What do you mean by solicitation? Solicitation का मतलब होता है request. Solicitation means requesting. Solicitation means what? Requesting. Now tell me, as a cost and management accountant or as a chartered accountant or as a company secretary, should we solicit to somebody? Should we solicit the work from people? Should we demand the work from people? Should we beg the work from people? No. It is within our ethics or against our profession. Within our ethics or against our profession. It is completely and completely against our profession. That's the reason solicitation allowed or not? Not allowed. Solicitation via from the client. Can I solicit from my client? Please give me the work. Please give me the work. I'm empty. Can I do like that? No. Can I solicit the work via circulars? What do you mean by that? Can I make one pamphlet and say that we are the practicing CMAs located at this place? If anybody wants to do the cost audit, if anybody wants to file the ITR, please come to our office. Should we make any such kind of pamphlets, circulars and all? No. Can I solicit via advertisement? Can I solicit via advertisement? Can I give the advertisement in the newspaper? We are the 20-year-old practicing CMA firm. We are into this business since very long. Please come and give your work and enjoy it. Is it like, selling the, is it like selling something, a soap or something like that? Is it like a salesman or not? Yes. So these things are allowed or not allowed? Not allowed. So we can't solicit our client. We should not request our client. We can't solicit via circular. We can't solicit via advertisement. And remember one thing. Can I give the TV interview? Yes, you can give the TV interview. Interview may you can give. Now, while giving the TV interview or while giving the personal interview, should you allow the interviewer? Should you allow the interviewer to give your introduction in such a manner that these are the practicing CMAs? Uh-huh. So as a practicing CMA, everyone, please tell me, as a practicing CMA, if you are giving an interview on the television, is it your responsibility to ensure that the interviewer should not talk extraordinary things about you? If you will allow the interviewer, if you will allow the interviewer to talk extraordinary things about you, can I say that indirectly you are soliciting the work from the people? Let's imagine a situation. Let's imagine a situation. Suppose there is one lady who is taking my interview. I'm a practicing CMA. That lady is saying, today I would like to introduce the best cost and management accountant in India, who is the best in the field, having an experience of 40 years in the market, having the best industry rates. He is Mr. CA Rohit Grover, ऐसा करके CMA Rohit Grover, like that if they will introduce. Now tell me one thing, whether this particular thing, this profoundness was required or not required. Was it wanted or unwanted? Was it wanted or unwanted? Unwanted. It was not at all required. So it is your responsibility that you are not giving or you are not allowing interviewer to say, Acha, if the interviewer is saying, today I would like to present CMA Rohit Grover, who is in the practice, who is a practicing cost and management accountant. So here we go. Now tell me, is that much of introduction is available? Is it fine? Yes. So you can't request the work from your clients. You can't request it via circular. You can't request it via advertisement, and you should not get it requested via interview. But, can I request the work? Can I request the work from another practicing cost and management accountant? Can I request the work from the another practicing cost management accountant? Yes, because ICAI feels that it is good that if one cost management accountant helps the another cost and management accountant. Did you all understand my point or not? Is it good to help the other cost and management accountants or not? Yes. And can I reply? Can I reply to the tenders inviting practicing CMAs for work, for professional work? Can I reply to the tenders? Now, suppose in the newspaper one tender came, if we are looking for practicing CMAs who are having this much of experience and that, and I replied to that. Am I guilty? Am I guilty? No, I'm not guilty. Now, I asked them any work or they asked the work? Did I request the work or they are requesting us? They are requesting us. Are you getting the point? They are inviting the tender. I am to just replying the tender. Are you getting the point? So in case you are soliciting the work from the another practicing CMA, or in case you are replying from the tender, is there any problem or no problem? No problem. But let me ask you one thing. Let me ask you one thing. Suppose tender is closed. Suppose the tender is closed. Now I am sending one letter to those government organization. Sir, is there any still requirement? Is there any still vacancy? Sir, is there any this requirement? Now tell me, is it looking like soliciting now? Is it looking like soliciting now? Yes. So you all have to understand the question very carefully. In the question, what the lawmaker is trying to tell you. Did you all understand concept or not? Did you all understand the concept or not? Yes or no, everyone? Yes. So this is what do you mean by how many clauses we are done with today, everyone? How many clauses we are done with? Allowing, sharing, accepting, partnership form. And then what? Securing and soliciting. 111, 211, 311, 411, 511, 611. Crystal clear, everyone? Yes or no? So these are the various clauses we have done. So I hope you enjoyed today's session also. You understood today's session also? Yes or no? So everyone, I'll see you guys tomorrow at the same time, approximately 8:40, 8:45, right or not? So thank you so much for attending the class, everyone. It was lovely teaching you all, and have a good day ahead. Be safe and sound. Make sure that you are not going out unnecessarily. Be at home only and take care of your health and don't trouble your parents, right? Chalo, bye bye everyone. Thank you so much. Take care. Thanks for lending your patient ears. I'll borrow it again tomorrow. Bye everyone. Bye bye. Bye. Take care everyone. Thank you so much.